Hello, everyone. Welcome to the warmest day of the year. We are here with you to talk about AI, all the tools you should be using and you're not using yet, or maybe you are, and we'd like to get your feedback. If you're watching us on this hot day, or maybe it's freezing where you are, let us know in the chat. Sebastian has had a very busy morning already. Let us know what you've been doing, Sebastian.
Hello, good morning. Well, yeah, still good morning. I'm speaking from the Spanish Chamber of Commerce in Belgium. Beautiful views. We're on the 9th floor, and we see the whole city, and the AC is working. And so we are really, really cool right now. But I have to say that this week has been crazy. I've never experienced a week like this one. And I have to say that the AC in many of the venues was faulty, and that really ruined the whole event experience. So invest in AC, people, for these few days for your venues, because you don't want a good event to be ruined by people like literally sweating and being not comfortable, right? But today we are in a really nice place.
Nice. So today we're going to talk about lots of different things. We met a very famous person this week. Sebastian even had lunch with her. More about that later on. But we're going to start with talking about some different tools that could help you a lot if you work in communication or public affairs. So I posted this a couple of months ago, what my perfect LLM stack looks like. I think maybe you want to kick this off, Sebastian.
I definitely can, and the interest story for this was that the EU bubble is seeing, as many other places, an emergence of new tools, an emergence of new solutions, and I'm always very excited about that innovation. Now, especially for organizations that have small budgets, and that for them already they have ended up with paying like a few €100s in licenses every month, they come to me and say, what is your preferred tech stack? Should I consider this tool? Should I pay this other license, etc.? And this is why I say, okay, let's do this session now, because it comes at the right moment. I would say, when thinking about, of course, AI, and the tools available, there are different criteria you need to have in mind. Also, that your organization needs to have this conversation very seriously and have internal rules on how to choose which tool to use, etc. But I would say the beginning, let's say the starter pack for any organization, is to start with a frontier model. Like, you need in your organization a so-called frontier model. What are those frontier models? Well, the ones that probably you know. You have ChatGPT, which is owned by OpenAI. You need Claude, which is owned by Anthropic. To leave everyone with a European version, which is frankly performing better and delivering better results, you can use Mistral, which is owned, or Le Chat, now it's called Vibe, and it's owned by the French Mistral. And with those systems, any of these systems, you can also use Copilot. There are many. But with those systems, you can do pretty much 90% of the work that you need to do. And you can also build agents. Those frontier models have very advanced agent capability. And probably many of the things that you end up paying for Actually, many of those licenses could be replaced by an agent, building an agent inside of any of these frontier models and inside the 20 or 30 euro subscription. So I would say first, like, make sure that you have one of these, make sure that you know how to build agents, and that is going to save a lot of money to your organization. Um, then what I would say later is, of course, if your organization has safety and privacy at the core and wants to use tools that are perhaps less advanced but prioritizes having an enterprise or an ecosystem that is protected, definitely. And I was the other day with the people from Microsoft here in Brussels, and they showed me their latest Copilot studio and the latest version, and it's quite impressive. And you're always talking about maybe 6 months. All these tools, even though they go slower, you are always 6 months behind, which is sometimes it's a lot, but sometimes it's good enough to have both the capabilities of advanced models with the safety. And then I can talk a little bit more about other tools. But what do you think, Liora? I know you use other tools in your day-to-day that I didn't mention, so probably the people following us today want to see more options.
Yeah, I agree with you that most of these tools can do a lot of things, and any of them is probably good enough. However, because I use a lot of different LLMs, large language models, for my workshops, and people use different ones, so I have to be using all of them consistently. I also see that they each have their strengths. And for example, Claude had projects before ChatGPT. So I started to set up all my projects in Claude, and I found it to be very powerful, more powerful than the project function in ChatGPT, even once it started developing that project function. But on the other hand, the GPT function I find stronger in ChatGPT. Maybe it's called ChatGPT for a reason, even once the other LLMs develop such function. Now you have agents in ChatGPT, you have computer in Perplexity. I find them both very strong in different ways. I have a lot of reports running in Perplexity. They give me enormous insight, for example, on LinkedIn, what's working on LinkedIn. I have them run reports on the best performers on LinkedIn, what they do, what kind of hooks they have, what call of action, how long their posts are. And it gives me enormous insights in how to, and it's much faster than any type of formal report that comes out every half a year. I see day to day what's changing, what's working. I think Perplexity is excellent. It works much better when you are active on LinkedIn, for example. So I see those kind of detailed differences, but I do appreciate that everyone is able to get a pro, because I have a pro license for all of them. I tried out the max version for Perplexity for a while, but it's basically when you use up a lot of tokens, which most people probably don't need. So that being said, there are some specific things that, yes, you could build if you have coding experience, but if you don't, it's hard to see if it meets all those specific requirements. So for example, I work a lot on AI visibility. In other words, how do you get your organization to show up in AI results? So when someone asks a question about your organization or about you as a person, how do you show up in the results? And it is very important that you have a dashboard that shows you exactly what happens for a variety of maybe 50, 100 prompts that are most important to you. Could you build something like that? Probably, but you have to have, and actually I am building something at the moment, but just to test it, but with my team, Akshay, hi, if you're watching, it's not me building, but it's him. But it's difficult. It's definitely easier to use something that's already done, built and tested. The reason, by the way, that we're building is putting in. Actually, we shouldn't give away why we're doing it. So we'll more on that later. I want to say hi to Louise, of course. Hi, good to see you. The weather is steaming, horribly hot here. Kushi, hello, also very hot over there. Doran, hi. Johan in Antwerp. And Mohammed says, I think he's talking about your session, that it was incredible. And Louise says, what about tools from China? That's a good point. I am not on those. So I out of principle a little bit. So maybe you can say something about that.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think I'm gonna share because as I am speaking also here is because we are doing today is a full day of training sessions on AI. We did a one advanced AI for public affairs teams, and now I have one for creatives. And so I can share I'm gonna share very quickly the screen where you're gonna see that you're gonna see how to make those decisions, right? How to make the decision of which tool to use, and of course, you need to know who is behind each one, right? So, for example, in this case, can you see? I
Yes.
think you can see the screen. When using what we call these frontier models, it's very important that you know who is behind, right? So you need to differentiate between the company, which you can see at the top with the nationality where this where each one comes from, the LLM, which is, let's say, in the middle. This is the large language model. This is the engine powering and giving you all this amazing information every time you ask for it. And then you have products that are built on top of those large language models. Sometimes you only see the tool or the product and you don't even think what is behind each one. And of course, there are lots of options that I'm only showing here 6, but there are hundreds. Those are the most important ones. So for you to know if you are using ChatGPT or Copilot, you are in fact tapping into GPT-5, which is the model owned. It's a private model, it's proprietary, meaning it's let's say controlled by OpenAI, an American company, and so it's more, let's say, difference between proprietary and open source is also an interesting option if you are considering to use one or another. The proprietary, it means that you every time that you will need to tap into this model, it has to be done through OpenAI, let's say. Which makes it more less controllable, more less customizable or less shapeable than the open source ones. Of course, you have Mistral, which is the European option, which is open source, which gives you also the ability to host the model in your computer and make a lot of changes and say like work with the model in a more with more flexibility. But of course, you have what is DeepSeek, which is the largest model and the most used model in the world, which is Chinese. Why is it the most used model? Because it's the cheapest one. Working with these LLMs have a price, and China is competing. That's maybe why Liora it's saying that she doesn't work with Chinese, because China is doing a very unfair competition on AI by having ridiculously low prices for their LLMs. I'm telling you that the difference between using an American or a Chinese model is the Chinese is 100 times cheaper than the American, and that is because not only they are building capacity at a very large stage, but also they are subsidizing those models so that more companies, including Western companies, build their products on them. And that means all the information is pretty much being handed over to the Chinese authorities, and which have a very strict control of their LLMs. So that's why I don't use Chinese either.
I,
Probably.
I, I do have to correct you because it is still ChatGPT that is the largest in terms of usage, and not DeepSeek. I just checked it with Perplexity if I've been saying something that was incorrect, but it is indeed it is still ChatGPT.
Maybe I'm pretty sure it's like a close race, a close competition. I did read, and probably we are both right in the sense that maybe we are measuring different things. but startups are using definitely DeepSeek models to build their own products, because you buy 1 million tokens with DeepSeek, you pay $0.28 to the token, and that even in GPT, one of the models of GPT, you would pay significantly more. So maybe there is a difference between AI startups and general users, like the general consumption. But I am pretty sure that they are like, there's a very close race between.
According to Perplexity, but we shouldn't be fighting on our own show. But according to Perplexity, DeepSeek's global market share is at 6.6% and ChatGPT 43%. So it's a big difference. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, let's get those data to you next week, and we can determine who's right and who's wrong, and if indeed DeepSeek is catching up in the game of AI. Let's go maybe to the next slide. In the meantime, we have a couple of questions from the audience. What does Perplexity do different? Luis says it was a brilliant explanation on your part, Sebastian. And he has another question. The AI content creator APP, it's been said, creating content that earns attention instead of begging for it.
Would you like to reply to Andrew's one on Perplexity? I'm also like curious. Like, this is an answer that I get a lot in the workshops.
You want me to answer that question?
Yeah.
So Perplexity. So there is, that LinkedIn has a closed API, so it's different. It's no different for Perplexity, but for some reason, because their extensive research, they are just much more useful, in my experience, to use it for LinkedIn. So it does research that is much better. It's much more source based. I don't know. And it also uses different LLMs for its own work. So you can use within Perplexity, Claude, ChatGPT. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. I use it the most. I have to say, from all the ones that I use ChatGPT for imagery, but then Perplexity for most other things, for most strategic work. And I am able to ask it, for example, take a look at the person LinkedIn profile, only if they have an open profile, of course. And where other LLMs will then tell me, well, no, I'm not able to do that. Perplexity is able to give me a lot of useful LinkedIn information, and because that's a large part of my work, it works.
I have to admit that that I need to take a look at. Definitely need to take a look at the Perplexity on my side.
It is a big difference if you turn computer on, but then you need to be careful when you turn it on, because if you work with a computer function, sometimes you have a simple question. I sometimes forget to turn it off, and it comes back with a 20-page pager, 20 pager, when all you wanted was a short, simple thing. So you need to be careful and use the right thing for the right purpose. But if you have a deep thing that you want done, computer is amazing, very much like the agent function in ChatGPT.
Yeah. Here we have my very good colleague, Sam, who is a pro. He's an advanced user. He's doing amazing things with AI for political campaigns and advocacy. And actually, like what he's saying, it really makes sense. So there are cheap models to do like the most easy training work, and then he's using Opus, which is Anthropic. This is the latest version that we can access in Europe, because unfortunately, Fable, which is the latest one, is not available for us Europeans, which is it's really not great. But yeah, and then of course it's Opus. Opus is 4.8. It's the latest version of Anthropic. But yeah, it makes sense. I mean, the level of sophistication is growing in the industry. Most of the people will still need, and today we want to talk also to the people who are probably already users, and then they are grappling with all these questions. What should I do? What should I, which licenses should I pay? I think we've covered like pretty much. Start with those, and then only judge adding new tools to the tech stack if they if they add actual value that you cannot do with your own agents and with your own or with the existing frontier models, I would say.
Yeah, and one other thing, I know a lot of companies force their employees to work with a specific, with Copilot, which makes sense. And there's a lot of advantages to it as well, because you have the whole Microsoft infrastructure. But you may find a way, and sometimes you have a ChatGPT built in, and that's really good, I think. But there might be a way for you to use other LLMs for different purposes, for research, so and I think if companies can find a way to allow that in a controlled way, I think that is really a good thing, because Copilot is great, but there are others that can really give you that added advantage without losing control. So I think I recently worked with a company that opened up I think 4 different ones. I think that can be a little bit tricky as well, because you really start to not understand what is happening where, and then you have an agent here and a GPT there. But that was in a testing phase, and then they're going to control it. I think if thinking to control costs is really a mistake, because if you orchestrate this well, it can be a huge efficiency saver, creator. All right, let's go to the next page and see. We have a lot more for you that can be useful. I wanted to talk a little bit about a tool that can help you measure AI visibility. Again, just a quick explanation. SEO, search engine optimization, we did in the past. How can you rank in Google? Well, a list of, show up. Nobody cares about that anymore, because what happens at the top of Google is now an AI answer, right? That is the answer, that's the I can never do this, AEO, that's because of my Dutch background. But what really matters is generative engine optimization, because that will also be about your reputation, and that actually has the other part included as well. But how do you measure that? You can start typing into your own AI and ask questions about yourself, but it doesn't work because it knows you. So it gives you the answers that you want, right? Plus, you need to do this at scale. You need to have lots of questions, lots of different AI tools, and you need to see what it comes back with, who it comes up with. And more importantly, you need to see what sites it pulls from. Because at the beginning of all this, we thought, Wikipedia is going to be important. The mainstream press is going to be important. We now find out that LinkedIn is the most important source for professional queries, right? LinkedIn, Reddit, user-generated content, YouTube, it reads all the transcripts, so you need to turn them on. Why is this? Because AIs like fresh content, it likes user-generated content, it likes a lot of it, and Wikipedia is quite static, so I expect that to go down. Plus, it is also not neutral. It is very, so it likes to really see lots of different sides of things. So if you go to the next page, you will see that I tested a lot of them, and I use this particular AI visibility dashboard for my clients, where we can put in a whole set of prompts. Now, of course, what you're measuring is always a specific set of prompts. We cannot test all the prompts of the world, so that's a choice by itself, right? And what you see is a result of the prompts that you put in, right? But for the prompts that are most important to you, for the things that you want people to search for, so here's the dashboard for the Think Room, and we look at things like, the identity focused communication, or AI workshops for communicators in Brussels, or everything that we do, we put in here, and we see who comes up. What are the results? What are the sources? We see very often that my own LinkedIn is sourced by the LLM. So one single piece of content that I wrote on LinkedIn, and I write every day, was sourced 400 times by the LLM. So that's interesting to see. So you see all those things. You see how to optimize. You see how optimize your own website is, which of course should also be a major source. It's a third mentioned source for all these problems combined. So all these things you see, you need to start with facts. You need to start with facts so you can optimize your web presence for LLMs. And you need a dashboard. If not this one, then another one. All right.
What is the name of the tool again, Liora?
The tool is called SEO, and I help people to get on it. So it's not something that they can do themselves, but they can come via me if they would want to get it.
So reach out to Liora if you want to be inside.
Yeah. With pleasure. It's not
a really cool one.
Yeah, we create reports every month with all the things you need to do to rank higher.
Yeah.
So it's not just a dashboard, but it's like a full plan implementing. And everyone we do this for, they see it grow up really fast, because that's the great thing about AI search results, that you can change it almost within the month. It's not a difficult process to improve. So you can improve this super fast.
Yeah.
So that's the nice thing about it.
And your adversaries are doing it, so there is no choice for you. You gotta do it. You gotta get into it. Okay,
Absolutely. But it's fun.
nice.
Continue.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Tell us
then another
about.
tool that recently came out is Rhetora. If you want to understand your audience and strengthen your message, of course you can use one of the existing LLMs, but this really allows you to set up. You can define your audiences and test them. This is an AI-based tool, but it's very specific for your so you set them up once, and then you throw your messages in there and you explore how they might react to it. Because what you often see, this is the problem since the beginning of communication, since I started working in communication way back when, that you do it from your own point of view. You think, this is a great campaign, but that might not be how your audience responds to it, or maybe part of your audience will. And this is a really amazing way to test and refine messages for different audiences groups. It works really well, very positive feedback, and better results with your campaign. So a good use of your budget. So
That would be, Liora, one of the things where I would jump and say, can you build an agent in a frontier model, like say Claude or ChatGPT, with all these persona profiles that you build yourself, and you make sure that they are custom to what you do, and this is one of the examples that I would say, look, if you know how to do agents and you have the time, and of course, there are a lot of if there, but I think those are like exponentially like the type of things that you can maybe save money on, and bring it to your own under your own control, and be able to shape, etc. So I don't know, but of course you would be able to do this only with one, right? Or maybe Perplexity also allows you to create an agent that taps into the different LLMs. So that would be another solution. Wouldn't you think this is, to me, falls into
it's all a matter of time as well, and a matter of how many people you have on your team. So if you have an endless amount of maybe interns or very, very capable people of your team who are able to build these things, then yes, I see often the problem is not so much money, but time. If time is your problem, then maybe you get something like this. You see, so I think, but I think you're right that it potentially is possible to do something like this. I think almost anything is possible, right?
Yeah. No, but for example, when I say when I see organizations in the bubble who are trying to offer their solutions, I would say there are ones that are really interesting, which are the ones that take all the video input or output from the European Parliament, the Commission, like all different parliaments, and then they process that, they transcribe it, and then you can search that easily, right? Why? Because the process of transcribing video to text and to put all this in a nice interface, it does cost a lot of money. That is not something you can do. So it makes sense that one does it, and then you buy access to that.
Yeah.
But everything else, maybe hiring a person or a consultant. I heard of a couple of good consultants in town that build those things for you, and over time you're gonna also save money on licenses that you don't know if you're using. And
I mean, I think I had a post about this last week, that you need to hire very different people in your team right now. A DNA specialist that helps your unique identity as a company or an organization to come out, but also someone who builds these agents, who's really good at it, who loves it. I have someone like that on my team, Akshay, who loves nothing more than to automate and to build those agents, and makes the operation run more smoothly, and I think that will make everything work better and faster. So absolutely. So if you have someone like that who can see how things are done now, what is missing, and then or sometimes create new processes, absolutely. If you don't have that type of person, if you're not willing to hire someone like that, then yeah,
Yeah,
and these
that's
tools
a
make
really
sense.
good. That's a really good point, Laura. It's a
Yeah.
really good point. Should we continue, or
Yes,
there are like a few questions there? So maybe we can.
I just wanted to answer Johan's questions. Once this episode is over, it stays on my LinkedIn.
Yeah.
All the previous ones as well. If you scroll down, I appreciate I post a lot, but you can just watch it. So it's just there, just where it was. It's just on my profile. You can watch the whole thing tomorrow, on Sunday, whenever you want. And anyone who didn't register can also watch it. So we would love for you to watch the rest of the show after you need to leave, Johan.
Nice. And very quickly, Luis, can AI help you test variations weekly to identify what resonates? Exactly. Yeah. Answer is yes, and yes. Yeah, they can help you test different message variation, and then even recommend improvements, which are that is the interesting part. Like, you give a draft that you think is good, and then it says, challenge this draft, give me new angles, give me adapt it for every audience. That's there is this book that I read, and to me, everything I think about this all the time, which is the AI brings the age of personalization to its maximum level. You write a general text, and then you can personalize to the language, to the user persona, uh, almost effortlessly, and very, very efficiently. So
So what I do with my company is we go very deep on the DNA of an organization or an individual. I do a 3-hour interview with a person. If it's for an individual, I create a DNA key for a person that is 30, 40, 50 pages long, goes very deep on who they are, what makes them unique. Often they cannot see it. That's the point, to bring out that unicity of the person. But it also gives a communication strategy, a LinkedIn strategy, if that's the way they want to go. But that document then allows you to build a space in Perplexity or an agent in ChatGPT, and then to whatever content you then want to produce, to check against that agent and say, look, does this fit that personality? What should we do? We have this idea. And so when you have that type of document, but it starts really with a very unique document, that document also outlines the tone of voice, the types of things they should and shouldn't do, SWOT analysis. But then you can do so much with AI, but it starts with personality first. If you start with AI without having defined that unique everything that's unique about the person, and often they don't know that before that conversation. Then it turns into what I like to call the tsunami of sameness, and that you don't want.
Yeah. All right.
Right, let's continue. Yes, what happened this week?
I want,
so many people. Wow.
So basically, I met not for I mean for the first time. We met, Liora and I.
That's
Even
true.
though you think we've been friends for forever, because it feels like that. We first met this week at the Digital Trust Summit, but I also saw Ana Gumbao, who is an excellent event moderator and speaker. I was with Aaron, who's a top Brussels lobbyist, with Rowan. I was really nice. I really keep this as my biggest takeaway from this week, is that I have de-virtualized these people that are on my feed every
I
single
love that.
day.
Devirtualized. I love
Yeah.
that. So good.
And then also something that I have seen also in the real world, which is people bringing their own fun to the office. And luckily, and even if you are considering coming over to this afternoon session on AI for small social media teams, we have a really good air conditioning. I'm here with long sleeve, and I am a little bit cold right now.
Sebastian, you had me at air conditioning.
Yeah.
I'm not coming for the session. I'm just coming for the air conditioning. No, just
But let's also talk about Kate and the reason she was here, but also not only the reason, also there is a interesting takeaways also on 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 the perception of who seem to be the leading voices in AI in this town. Sometimes we think they are, all male, and we often make that mistake of not maybe checking for diversity of voices of all kinds. So I know you have a few thoughts about Kate, who was in town, to talk about copyright and AI, but maybe you wanna kick off this part.
No, I just want to say two things. First of all, Sebastian co-organized this amazing session in Le Merode. It was truly mind-blowing, and there was one powerful woman after the next with truly mind-blowing thoughts. So yes, there are female thought leaders on the topic, and yeah, it was very, very powerful. Good air conditioning. I mean, it was so cool. So that's good. We want that. And yes, so Kate was very powerful. Was very passionate about the topic of our identities not being stolen, and we need to give permission before people play with our thoughts and our, all the things that they were trained upon these AI systems. So that was quite interesting. There were a couple of other speakers that I thought were super good, and I posted about this yesterday. If you're interested in reading a little bit more about it, what were your main takeaways of the session?
So the interesting thing is that we Europeans, we sometimes don't give ourselves enough credit of the things that we do well and other people admire from us, and especially in the space of AI, where we are like very defeatist, right? We say, there is nothing we can do. The Americans are way too powerful, and we only think about regulation, and that's the only thing that we care about. And there is some degree of truth, but at the same time, you can take all these so-called weaknesses and take them, convert them into strength for our own benefit of all of us, right? I don't think being defeatist about AI is a good strategy. And what they said, like basically this Digital Trust Summit, it was all about bringing American tech companies, bringing American actors and actresses, because at the end of the day, what drives the attention is someone like Kate Blanchett, but also Steven Soderbergh. We had Darren Aronofsky, amazing filmmaker behind Black Swan. Or we have also Adam Lipsy, who produced Disney movies like Dead Poets Society, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. So all these type of people were in the room together with European commissioners, with members of the European Parliament and think tanks of different kinds. And what the Americans were saying is, this tech is out of control in many spaces, and the solution from many so-called like thought leaders is to diverge, right? Including on both sides, is to pursue this AI nationalism, where the US does its thing, and then Europe, we do our own, and then there is no trust, there is no collaboration. But that, like, fundamentally it's wrong, but also practically it's stupid, because these tech companies who do cybersecurity, and they like Rubrik, which is a massive cybersecurity AI company, they did a presentation where they explained that before the age of AI, the time that it took for a cybersecurity criminal to access a Fortune 500 company, a big company, like top 500 companies in the US, so that's big, was around 27 days. It knocks different doors, open a digital world, stay inside your system, learns your weaknesses, and in 27 days, they are able to penetrate your defenses. With AI, we are well under 1 minute. But hang on, with Fable and with Mythos, that's Anthropic latest tool for cybersecurity, it is nearly 0 seconds. And right now, a criminal in the US have access to Mythos and can attack critical infrastructure in Europe. It can attack our companies, etc. So it really makes no sense whatsoever to diverge. It has to be actually the opposite. Like, we need to have Mythos so that we are protected and we have the latest version of protection in our systems. And we need more trust, and we also need to have tough conversations about what type of things are we doing in these AI labs that are potentially harming people, right? So it was really interesting. Of course, the Americans in the room, I don't know what you thought, they see the challenge and they say, I can meet the challenge. They are very optimistic. They think they have the solutions. Whereas the Europeans are more like, yeah, we would rather, we don't like that risk at all, and we would rather mitigate, or we would rather make that risk disappear. But then at the end of the day, we found a pragmatic middle ground, which is maybe Europe is really good at testing things before they are released. We do it with planes, we do it with cars, we do it in biotech. We are really good at testing things to make sure they are safe in a way that is good for the industry too, so it doesn't slow down industry, the opposite, and create the certifications, and then we release these things. And maybe there is cybersecurity, open source models is a really interesting space for Europeans to compete, and it was a really nice and different type of summit, I must say. And Kate Blanchett was definitely on spot, saying we need to do more to protect creators and copyright when we use these systems, because at the end of the day, many companies in the US are involved in very expensive lawsuits because they use an image that allegedly use copyright content, and the companies want to use AI in a responsible way, but there are no solutions for that. And then Kate Blanchett, she presented a solution where it's a free and open registry where everyone can go and upload your copyright content and say you can use it, you cannot use it, or you can use it with limitations. And so it's a solution, right? It's maybe a drop in an ocean, but definitely we talk a lot about solutions a lot.
Yeah, and I was waiting for someone to comment that Kate is Australian, not American. Yeah, no, absolutely. Very good summary. All right, let's continue, because maybe people still want to get some LinkedIn updates as well. By the way, on that note, we at the team, my team has launched a newsletter. I am so impressed because it was launched Wednesday evening, and I think we now already are approaching 500 subscribers. So thank you for your trust, and I'm very happy. We're going to have a newsletter every week for you guys, also based on some of the things we're discussing here. So in case you're not able to join us live or you prefer reading. So thank you, and keep reading. I wanted to discuss some of the things that have been launched. People have been asking me to talk about it. The reason that I haven't talked about it sooner is that none of these things have launched in Europe yet. So that's how it always goes with LinkedIn. They launch things in the United States, then they launch them everywhere else. And then it seems at the very last stage, they launch things in Europe. So one of the things that is launching is suggested feeds. So they're splitting the main feeds into topic-based streams, AI at work, work trends, economy, as it says here. So this is already the case. Your feeds are being shaped by what you read and not by who you follow. So, right, I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. It used to be that you saw just everybody that you were connected with. That was like 70, 80% of what you saw in your feeds. Now it's based on what you yourself post, what you read, what you linger on, what you engage with, rather than what maybe the people that you're in touch with. So if you want to see, you have to be very deliberate deliberate about how you engage on LinkedIn. If you don't like something, indicate that to LinkedIn. If you like something, so unfollow the person, click it away. If you like something, proactively, comment on it, follow the person, so show LinkedIn what you like, linger on it. And yeah, so that's what you do. And that's going to be even more that way into these topic-based streams. All right. So then also another thing that is going to be happening, and that I think is quite exciting, is collaborative post. I cannot do it yet. I think, again, it will take a couple of months, but it will be that from your company page, you can and also different people like Sebastian and me, for example, we could post something and it will go out on both of our pages at the same time. So it's like a collaborative post. So from a company, from different individuals. I think that's quite exciting. I'm really curious to see what kind of impact that will have on impressions, for example. So if anyone has access to that already, send me a note or put it in the chat, because and tell me also if you've tried it. I find that a fascinating thing. I posted about this today. The Washington Post, which of course is a very left-leaning publication, did a very deep study on the type of answers that they call them chatbots, large language models give. And the results are maybe not surprising, with the exception of Grok and Gemini, are on the whole very left-leaning. OpenAI, DeepSeek, Claude, even Grok, are all giving left. So when you ask a question, you get a left-leaning answer. Sometimes you get both-sided answers, and very, very few occasions you get right-leaning answers. Now, what I say in my post is that, of course, it is up to us to ask the right question. So when something is happening in the world, you don't say, oh, what's happening in the world? But you say, can you explain to me, covering all positions or covering the positions from all sides, can you explain to me what's happening? So you make sure, and with sources, so you make sure that it is forced to cover it from both sides. And you can even say what type of sources, or what type of, not sources, what type of positions you would like to see to avoid this type of thing from happening. Because what we've seen is, with a whole generation growing up on TikTok, positions in their minds have shifted. It takes about, that's another thing that was covered on that conference that I attended yesterday, that Sebastian just talked about. It takes about 10 months for a person to change position. So let's say that someone is in the pro-vaccination environment. Everyone is pro-vaccination. They move to a village where everyone is anti-vaccination. It will take about a year for them to switch their mind. So it's quite difficult, right? But let's say that you start getting on TikTok as a child in a family with more, I don't want to say regular, but like, typical views in Europe, then you start being submersed with these type of views, and you see the huge, all young people all getting into a specific mindset. And we all know TikTok comes from China. So it is kind of brainwashing our children in a very subtle way. I know this is an opinionated view that I'm expressing here. If you disagree, feel free to do so. Chat. But anyway, so this is what's happening also with the AI systems. And I forget the very smart Swedish Italian woman's name, but she was saying we can course correct at a later point, but it might be too late, and we may already have all adopted this worldview that our AIs are now impressing in us. So it is important that, first of all, you avoid this from happening by asking the right question, doing the right things with your AI. Your AI is not a news generator, so ask it in the right way. But second of all, be aware that this is the case. What do you think about this, Sebastian?
This has been such a long-running debate. And to me, it was very evident from the beginning. The moment you know how these systems learn, and the moment you know that these systems are biased to what I that experts call weird countries and people, right? Which are weird, W for Western, E for educated, I industrialized,
Okay.
R stood for rich, and D for democratic, right? Pro-democratic. So these people are weird. However, the because we are not the majority at all in within the even within the West. But then if you consider global South versus North, global North, and regional, right? It's and and of course these all these tools, they have read every single scientific paper from Harvard, from Yale, from Oxford, and at the end of the day there is a strong bias there. So to me that was never like so surprising, but it's interesting to see them compare, and it's really interesting to see Gemini. uh, I always say this with Google and Gemini. Google is going to surprise us. They are already doing it, but still they're gonna do the final stroke where they're gonna present something that we are just gonna throw everything else and use Google, because for all we can say about these large language models, the 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 best ones will be the ones that are being trained with human input, and Google has the largest human
That's
input in the digital world, which is YouTube, and which is, and the ability to scrub the web. So one day Gemini and Google is going to really show, and it clearly shows that they are the most representative ones in terms of the world views, and in this case ideological.
Someone said in my comments that this is because of the lawsuits, not because of what you just said. But I think what you said makes a lot of sense. Let's quickly go through the next slides because I know you have other things to do, and then we can. I would quickly wanted to say that this is an amazing newsletter from the Digital Contrarian. He's quite big. He's on all the channels. That's also what they do. Ryan Levesque. If you go into the next page, you can see that you can sign up on his website, which I did, as you can see. I strongly recommend all of his content. It is very thought-provoking, very good. And this is actually what his system is. He lets his clients write a very long newsletter and they turn it into all sort of content, which is quite smart. So, but I even if you don't want to work with them, which you probably don't want to do because they're based in the States, a different system. It's a really thought-provoking newsletter. So strongly recommend it. About links in posts quickly. So I heard that on the LinkedIn event that took place at the Wright Street on Tuesday, again, the LinkedIn people said, yeah, you can put links in posts. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
I also posted this when the algorithm changed. They say it's not a problem. Then when you put a link in a comment, they hide it. So is it a problem? Is it not a problem? The thing is, it doesn't have to be a problem. So one of the things they measure, I said, how does LinkedIn decide if your post is good? It's if people engage with it, if people save it. It's also if you put a link on it and people click on that link. Now, if there's a link in it and nobody clicks on that link, that's another indicator that it's not a good post. So it is much more nuanced. So if you put a link in your post, it's very salesy, people are a bit suspicious of it, they don't click on it, actually that makes a post perform worse. But if it's a link and people are very intrigued by that link, or you put 10 links, they're all very helpful, there are 10 free courses, and people are going to click very heavily on all those links, then it will perform. So things are not as black and white. It might help you, it might hurt you. That's basically how links in posts now work. Linking in the first comment.
I'm so confused.
Well, anymore. Anyway, sorry.
I am so confused because I say, now put the links, now don't put the links. I think at the end you are right. At the end is the content relevant, and is the link something that people, because the whole idea with the links is this idea that LinkedIn doesn't want you to leave their platform, and that is why they are trying to build more things inside the platform. But at the end of the day, I see on my post every day posts with links that are incredibly viral and the opposite. So I think what you just said makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So I also created a LinkedIn board game.
Yeah,
And I invite anyone who wants to come play it with me to bring
yeah.
a cup of coffee and do it with me. So basically, everyone starts the game the same way. You're scared to post. You think LinkedIn is cringe, but actually you're calling it cringe because that's an easy way to opt out of it. And then you start reposting like a crazy person. You're posting your organization, and or maybe you say interesting thoughts and interesting perspective. And then you go through the corporate jargon phase. You think that, maybe if you say a lot of jargony things, it's going to sound like you know your stuff, but actually nobody really understands what you're saying. Then you start using AI because, with AI, it sounds really smart, and you start commenting with AI, but actually you're still not very far on the board. And then you start writing your own posts, but you end them all with agreed. Anyway, these are all steps. If you want to read more, read my post and see what you think. And by the way, just when you think you reach the final, LinkedIn starts changing the algorithm.
Exactly.
And you have to go back to start and start over. So it's never over. That's why it's a game. That's why it's fun. That's why I love LinkedIn. So enjoy and play the game with us, guys.
Yeah. I was also experimenting with AI and some games. And as I was explaining to my daughter. Well, we went to a Chinese restaurant, and then we took one of these calendars so nicely that you hand, and they have all the years, and they say depending on the year you're born, then you are a dragon, a rabbit, uh, and then she was inquiring me about this, and at the other day I said, look, the point is, it's in my opinion, those are like completely made up things.
Of course.
But, respect to people who believe in that. So, but anyway, I said, to prove my point, I said to my daughter, let's build one for our own and see if it works. So I created this EU bubble horoscope that will tell you your it will tell you the your work personality based on the year and the month that you first started working in the EU bubble. And I tried myself, and it's incredibly accurate. But that goes back to what I was explaining to my daughter. That at the end of the day, those traits are so general, and everyone see themselves in those traits. Everyone wants to see themselves in those traits. But if you go to one of my latest posts, you tell me the year and the month, then I'll give you your horoscope card about your work personality, and hey, maybe I got it right. Who knows? And it was all using AI. So
And did
that's
you do one for me? Because you asked for my date, right?
yeah. Did you tell me your date?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll check and then I'll post it on this. I'll give you your card in the comments of this
I
live.
started working in the EU bubble December 2013.
Perfect. I got it. I'm gonna share with you and see if you are surprised or not. All right.
Exciting. Very exciting. Okay, so do we have anything else? Because I feel like we've lost the audience by talking so much. Oh, and we're done anyway. If there are any more questions, if anyone is still there, give us a sign of life. We know we talk a lot, but anyway, we're gonna turn it into newsletter snippets. So in case anyway, if anyone's, I feel like I'm talking to myself. Are you Louis? Are you still with us? If so, give us a sign of life. If anyone else is there, give us a little drop.
I'll answer also to Luis quickly. He asked for the book, and I think it's the book's name that I said before. So I can like really quickly say it's called, what was it? It's a book by two Harvard professors, and they talk about like I said, it's more for marketing, but I think AI and public affairs has some interesting things, and it's called Personalized Customer Strategy in the Age of AI. And his names are Mark Abraham and David C. Edelman. I'll also post it on the comments, and And I really recommend it because this is the whole point. The whole point is that the personalization in the age of like marketing, it's possible now thanks to AI, but doing it. I am pretty sure that Liora, even if you didn't read this book, I think what you do with the DNA, it really follows what this book is about. So it's
I
a
mean,
really
they
good.
follow me, right?
Maybe they did steal your ideas. Now go call Harvard and say that they owe you some money.
That sounds good. All right. And thank you for still being with us, Louise. He says, yep. Thank you for this really interesting conversation, Sebastian. I really enjoyed it. And good luck with the rest of your afternoon. I hope you still have some time to have lunch.
I do. It's really fun. This afternoon is the fun part. It's going to be super fun because we're going to create very random things and very random content. So I'm always surprised by every single group of participants outdo the one before. So let's see what we do together today.
Amazing. Really enjoyed it. See you next week, and have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao.
And
Bye.
stay hydrated and all those things that you say these days.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Ciao.
Bye.